The Great Pyramids of Giza. Ancient wonder of the world. Possibly man's greatest ever achievement. But why do we pay so much attention to these piles of rocks in the middle of the desert? Well, it's because of a fact known by every wife or girlfriend throughout the history of man. Bigger equals better. And standing at a height of almost 500 feet, the Great Pyramid is bigger than any other pyramid on planet Earth. Built by Pharaoh Khufu almost 4,500 years ago, the Great Pyramid of Giza stands as a monument to human triumph and engineering and ingenuity, which still stands to this day. The Egyptians didn't just wake up one day and decide to build these monumental structures. Like most things throughout human history, it was a process refined over many, many years. Egyptian pharaohs used to bury themselves in structures called mastabas, like this one. Over time, and I'm sure in an effort to impress future generations, some bright young pharaoh decided to put a mastaba on top of a mastaba, like this. I'm sure you can tell where this is going. Over time, pharaohs placed mastaba on top of mastaba on top of mastaba, until eventually we end up with what we call a step pyramid, just like this one. And of course, finally, this led to the pharaohs deciding to fill in the gaps of the steps to make it into one smooth-sided pyramid, which would have looked like this. The first pharaoh to do this was the architect pharaoh, Sneferu. Sneferu didn't do this without fault though. His first attempt, the bent pyramid, as you may be able to guess, was bent. It wasn't a perfect pyramid. The engineers behind the project had obviously made a mistake, but undeterred, and because he had a lot of money, Sneferu tried again, and this time created our first true smooth-sided pyramid, the Red Pyramid. Time passed, and Egypt became richer and more powerful. The resource of the pharaoh grew to ever larger extents, meaning that when the time came to build their pyramids, they had more manpower and greater resources to make them bigger and better than ever before. And in comes to the picture comes our friend, Pharaoh Khufu. Egypt at this point was immensely powerful, yes, but Khufu wanted to make something so unique, so special that his reign would live through the ages, displaying the might and power of Egypt, utilising limestone from local Giza mines and quarries. Khufu and his workers worked relentlessly through the non-farming months, and after 20 or maybe 30 years, their task was finally complete, displaying truly the grandeur of Egypt. Serving as his final resting place, although he hoped, Khufu's remains were interned within the tomb. As you may have guessed, if you're making a tomb and you're Egyptian pharaoh and you're filled with gold and silver and chariots and all the most expensive things known to man at the time, it would attract grave robbers, and sadly none of the original artifacts left in the Great Pyramid are with us today. As you may also guess, it's quite obvious to see. It's not hard to miss that Great Pyramid. Later, future pharaohs would move all the previous pharaohs into the Valley of the Kings, a hidden location where he hoped their wealth and dignity would remain safe from robbers or vandals. Thus, the site of Giza was abandoned for future use, and therefore no more pyramids were built at the area. But what is left to us is truly a marvel of the ancient world. It wasn't until the building of the Eiffel Tower in France that man managed to build something taller than the Great Pyramids. And considering that took almost 4,500 years to do, it's fairly impressive. And thus ends our short story about the Great Pyramid. Next time, we'll be carrying on our story of Heracles, his fighting of the Linnaean Hydra, and the consequences thereof. Thanks for joining us. Goodbye.